Hello, everyone. We are back with another edition of Mellow Musings. Mellow Musings. And like every other edition, this time too, we have something very interesting to offer. I'll familiarize you with the speaker very soon. But before we go further, maybe a word about what Mellow is and what Mellow Musings really are. MELOW is a society that we formed in 1997, the Society for the Study of the Multi-Ethnic Literatures of the World. And since 1997, we have been busy doing a lot of things. We hold conferences, organize a lot of workshops and other events. And this year in January, we started MELOW Musings, gatherings like this. You know, when we all get together and we discuss a topic of common interest. And this is the 21st edition. So we started sometime mid-January and this is the 21st. So our numbers are increasing and we are very happy to have a lot of people joining us. And yeah, we have on the screen right now, we have Professor Anil Prasad and Mukesh Williams who joined us from Japan. Anil Prasad is from Patna, but there'll be others also in the background. But let me tell you about the speaker of the day, the speaker and the moderator. The speaker of the day is Anita Krishan. Anita Krishan is here on the screen. Hi, Anita. How are you today?
Hello. How are you, Manju?
Yeah, good to see you. And Anita was born in the mist-laden Shimla Hills. She grew up surrounded by whispering forests, winding trails, and the quiet magic of mountain life. She did her post-graduation in English literature. And then after she got married, she moved away from the beloved hills, but never far from the memory. So she was always haunted by nostalgia and the aching beauty of her childhood home. And so she started writing. This was one way of preserving memories. Her first book, Fluffy and Me, is a tender memoir rooted in the hills, capturing the warmth of youth and the simple joys of companionship. But the stories continued, and she has a lot of books to speak of, to be proud of. We have Tears of Jhelum and Despite Stolen Dreams. Here she explores the tragic complexities of love, loss, and war. And then her latest book, I'm coming to the latest book, that is Beyond a Broken Bridge. This is set against the backdrop of war, unrest, and heartbreak, and insane violence. And this book ventures into that fragile yet enduring realm of love. With every book, she invites readers into worlds both seen and unseen, anchored in truth, yet touched by something far deeper, something unforgettable. I read this book recently, and this is a book that remains with you. Even when you put it aside, you cannot put it away. So thank you for being with us, Anita. We look forward to the conversation that we're going to have with you very soon. In conversation with her will be Meenakshi Sharma. She is also on the screen. Meenakshi, hi Meenakshi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here. Lovely to be here and talking to Anita, my dear friend also. Yeah.
Meenakshi is a graduate in English literature and a postgraduate in Mass Comm from the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, following which she completed her B.Ed and MBA in Human Resources. She is a published author, an editor, and a corporate trainer, and she continues to teach at the Goa Institute of Management. Soldier On is her first book, a memoir which is a tribute to the armed forces. So I love the Goa connection, and we are waiting for you to invite us there, Meenakshi. All right. So we have Anita and Meenakshi. They'll be carrying on a conversation between them about the works that Anita has produced, about her achievement, and also about her literary journey. So we will be switching off our videos for now, but after their conversation is over, we'll switch on our videos and take part in the discussion, right? So over to you, Anita and Meenakshi.
Thank you, Manju.
Thank you so much, Manju. Thank you. So let's get started, Anita. First of all, this is about you as an author, your journey, and of course, the series of books you've written, culminating in what would I would say like a magnum opus, which you call Beyond the Broken Bridge. So let's begin from the beginning. You were born in the hills, and there's a very deep attachment which appears and reappears in your book. Can we just start from there, how it all began, your journey as an individual and your journey as an author?
Thank you, Meenakshi, and thank you, everyone. Good evening, all the listeners. And, I really appreciate that you could take out your time to listen to us and listen to me and my journey as an author. And yes, so much of Manju has already introduced, and so Meenakshi has also said that my being born on the mountains has got a lot to do with my becoming an author, because you realize you never realize the beauty, the value of things when you have them in your hand. So when I was growing up in Shimla, I was born there, I was brought up, and I spent 22 plus years in Shimla. But once I left when I got married, that usual thing, your marriage, and then you have to leave, go to your in-law, with your husband. And very soon, it started striking me that how much I miss the mountains. But yes, I kept missing them, but my journey as a writer didn't start immediately. As usual, the life is that you get married, you have children, you have responsibilities, your life, changes all of a sudden to something, expected or unexpected. And my children grew up, they went to schools and colleges, and finally they left home to find their own paths of life. And that was the time, in those my empty moments, for the first time in life, in fact, I went back to those memories of the mountains, my memories of my childhood. They started, striking me immensely and deeply. And those growing up period, I just wanted to pen them down, because somebody suggested that, that nostalgia becomes less if you pen down the things and, preserve them. So that's what I started my journey as, preserving my memories. And when I started to write, I realized that how much I loved, writing. Till it's such a, I mean, like people discover themselves, the writers discover themselves when they are very young. And I was that time 50 plus. And I discovered my calling, and I've never looked back since then.
How
So
beautiful.
yeah.
How lovely. I really like how candidly you've talked about how life took over. You got into education in the teaching profession. And in that sense, you were very much in touch with your love for language and for writing. Yeah. But it was more of reading and teaching. Did that also contribute to your author journey?
Absolutely, it must have, without my knowing it, and definitely because as an English teacher, teaching English as a subject is very different. Your classrooms are so different, and they become alive with stories. So apart from that the syllabus that teachers are supposed to cover and make children sit for the examinations, I would take my classes beyond that. And I would tell them a lot of stories. I also told them stories of my growing up. I told them stories of ghostly encounters, which, the children, they listen to them with wide eyed and, with a fright, with interest. And yes, absolutely, those that must have contributed to a lot to my, becoming an author later.
Lovely, lovely, wonderful. So really, there was no time wasted at all. There was this beautiful background of your childhood. There was the love for language. Reading was something you were constantly doing, talking to students, and I think all of this has contributed to your decision to turn author. So let's talk about your first book a little bit, just a little bit, to get a feel of what your journey's been like. What was your first book? How did it come about?
Well, the first book, of course, I told you I started writing my memoirs, and I penned them down. And then once I finished, and it was like my growing up time, I had a little dog, and had named him Fluffy. And we lived in a very secluded house in Shimla, in the suburbs of Shimla. I think many of our listeners must have been to Shimla and been to the the most famous building, in fact, the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, which used to be the Viceregal Lodge during the British time. And our house was just below that, but surrounded by a thick cedar and pine and oak and rhododendron forest. And that, I spent, those days with my little dog. We had lot of adventures, which went on and on, and that's where I started my journey with. I miss mountains, but I miss my little dog equally. So I put two and two together. I brought the beauty of the mountains, and I wrote, about my adventures with my dog, and that resulted in a book. You know how the new authors struggle. So I went with my script to various publishing houses, and of course, it was for me it was not expected. But later on, I realized that it is the expected thing to be rejected. So I was rejected 5, 6 times. Ultimately, finally, I went to this Prakash Books, and they were actually famous for coffee table books, and they told me that they just started paperbacks, and they will take my script and let me know. And 6 months, they took 6 months. I had to wait so patiently. And 6 months later, they told me that they would publish my book. And I have that book with me here.
Oh, lovely.
Uh, I don't know where is it called. And that book was titled Running Up the Hill.
Running up the hill. Oh,
Running
lovely.
Up the Hill, actually. And in order, can you give me that book, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
Anita,
this
this was
was a
also.
different, this book was Running Up the Hill. That's what
Oh,
they published. They did not do anything about, marketing. I didn't know anything. I was absolutely novice, zero
yeah.
about marketing, that I, as an author, has to do something in it. I wrote and gave it to them, and I forgot. And then I was busy in my teaching schedule,
Yeah.
very hectic with a family, looking after the family, growing up children.
Yeah.
And this book was so bad, in the sense that, look at the condition, all the papers are coming out. It was not, the binding was so bad, but
Yeah.
the book was there. You
How
know, you
lovely.
you can see that, when how the beauty when you have the first book in your hand.
That's true.
And then I forgot, I wrote, when I speak about my next book, I will tell you. But then I told the publishers that they have, later on I realized that this book is not to die. This was something, that has to go to the readers, the beauty of a life, which was so simple. There's nothing, artificial, nothing extraordinary. It was just a simple life of a simple family living on the mountains.
Absolutely.
And they agreed, they were being very nice. And then they published the next book, is as a next edition as
Fluffy and
Fluffy
me.
and Me.
Oh.
Yeah.
So basically, if I have understood it correctly, uh, running on the hills, is that what it's called? Running on the hill?
Running Up the Hill.
Running up the hill. So running up the hill was like a memoir. It was like your story. Is
My
that?
story, but then this is again, it's the same story. We did redid that, adding and subtracting and all that. I mean, next edition, so it came as Fluffy and Me,
Beautiful.
and it became pretty popular. Even it's popular with students. I, believe last year, somebody, showed me that in one of the holiday homework in some school, they
Uh-huh.
had suggested reading Fluffy and Me.
Oh, that's so heartening
Yeah.
for you as a teacher.
Teacher,
Uh,
yes.
so
Mm.
great. So your love for the mountains, your pets, and of course children, because I think there's a lot of child here, the feeling of being a child. Let
Yes.
me come now to fast forward a little bit. And you wrote Tears of Jalem. Am I right after that?
Yes, that
Can
was
you
my
tell?
next book.
That was the next book. So a little bit about why Tears of Jalem, which is the name of the book itself has got a very poignant feel. How
Mm.
did it come about?
Yes, it also can, every book has a story behind it. I had gone to Kashmir. That was early 2000, when the terrorism problem was at the peak. And my husband, who was actually Dean of School of Planning and Architecture, was invited, to conduct a jury in the university, Srinagar University, and I went with him. In fact, I would not let him go alone. I think, off from school to accompany him because he was going to a danger zone. It was very dangerous at that time, and we went with that fear in our hearts, and with the we had all discussed that we are not going to discuss anything political with anyone there. That was my actually husband's instruction to me, that no political discussions there. And it started off that people started discussing things with us. The driver that who drove us around, he was the first one to open and say that how much people of Kashmir were suffering. He says, we are suffering from everywhere. The terrorists are after us, the army is after us, we are the bad people. We have become, they agreed that, there were some bad elements among them, those who had joined the crossed the border and joined terrorism, but normal Kashmiri wanted to live a simple life like everyone else. We are common people. And then, what happened, then some stories were shared with me. I came back, and then, no, the recent bomb blast in Delhi, reminded me once again of
Oh,
how
yeah.
I escaped one. I was 2005. I was in Sarojini Nagar.
Oh,
And when the bomb blasted there,
oh my God.
just, I'll tell you, it must have been just, about 10, 15 meters away from me. And there was such a huge crowd because Diwali and Eid were falling on the same day, the
I remember.
next day.
I remember.
And the bomb blast is just away. And later that time there was a little almost a stampede. Everybody was running away, but also I also heard somebody saying that probably it was a cylinder blast. The gas cylinder had blasted.
So,
But when I came back home and I started getting phones, like first phone I got from my daughter was telling, Mama, are you home or are you in Sarojini Nagar? Because that was, the market I used to go for my common shopping, even for my, daily rations.
mm,
So I said, yeah, I'm home, I'm safe, but I was there. But
my
then
God. Yeah,
next day I came to know 40 people had died in
yeah,
that.
yeah. That was
Just
something quite.
10, 15 meters. I saw the blast. I saw things flying into the air there, the fire and something burning around.
So,
And
Anita, you were talking about your, because we were talking about terrorism, and Srinagar was the hub of terrorism which inspired Tears of Jhelum. And though you wanted to stay away from politics, what you noticed is that it was impossible to escape.
escape. Because, see, we common people
Yeah.
get directly affected by the political events. In fact, the political events that happen in the world, directly cause upheaval in our lives.
In fact, that is something which you bring out in your latest book. When I come to that, I will, remind the listeners of this conversation, where we cannot escape. And much as writers like to stay in a world of their own, they must also portray what it is, what affects people, emotions, and feelings. But before I come to that part, I want to jump right into this very interesting detour that you took, which is ghosts, ghost stories. And that's something which I think really gets everybody's imagination wild. And your books have done extremely well, your ghost stories. Shall we talk about that? From where did those originate? I know a lot of them originated from your childhood, but please tell us what made you write
The
ghosts.
ghost stories,
Yeah,
exactly.
and
So,
ghosts on.
I had written these two books, Tears of Chelum and its sequel, Despite Stolen Dreams. It's a continuation of the same story, same characters, the same protagonist into the next book. And once their life in Kashmir and then their life in Delhi. And of course, the terrorist following them. And they are, if you have read them, they are almost thrillers, these two books. Apart from, of course, the political connection and of the suffering of the common people. Then, as I'm sure, Meenakshi, since you are also an author, a writer, when you are into writing and when you're not writing anything, you feel empty. You feel at loss. And after I had finished Despite Stolen Dreams, and it had got published after all that editing work and months of that labor, and I had the free time. And I was desperately trying to look for another topic to write. It was when my son, stepped in and he suggested that, Mama, you have so many ghost stories. You know how people love ghost stories, and something they are something to be shared around the campfires and at night people sitting in the company with a. They will love to share ghost stories, and you have so many. You used to tell us so many, and they're scary. So why don't you write them? And the one thing that was about my stories was that they were shared by people who experienced something supernatural. Every story, was based on an experience. Of course, as a writer, you know how our imagination runs and how we keep cooking things around our stories. They become exaggerated, of course, but every ghost story had something truth about. That's why I've written based on true incidents.
I
Like,
just love that. I remember reading this a few years ago, and I think we talked about it as well. But I do recall you saying that while you personally may not believe in ghosts, but you were absolutely fascinated by the way things had happened around you, and how it had affected people, but not very negative. What I found is none of your ghost stories were like depressing. You know,
there
how
was
did
just
you do that?
incidents, like now when you talk about, an encounter with a ghost, like my uncle had one of the stories, that's my famous, my family story, where my uncle experienced a supernatural incident while he was traveling from, we were in Himachal. I grew up in Himachal, and my father was into agriculture. So there was a time when he was the principal of agriculture school. And you know where the school was? The building which is today the five-star hotel, Broyes, called Wildflower Hall. So that building, and that's the first home I remember of my life. The first memories are there from Wildflower Hall. And that was, it had classrooms and it had the laboratories, and then there was it was a small setup, and there were lecturers and students. And my uncle was coming to us for the first time, and he had a supernatural because his bus broke down in middle of the night. At 2:30 he reached there, middle of nowhere. That building at the top of the hill, still there's a lot of commercial things around that building today. There are almost the whole market has come up. There was nothing at that. I'm talking about in 50s, 1950s. There was nothing around, not a tea shop was there for miles and miles together. And there was one building on top which used to be Lord Kitchener's home, that who was the commander in chief of the British Indian Army. And he was walking up the hill and he encountered a ghost. And that story, I grew up listening. Of course, not when I was very small. I never heard that story. But when I grew up, I heard that story a number of times. I asked my uncle about it, who had encountered, and he says, "Oh, that was a mystery woman." I don't know. I'm not able to get over that incident and explain that incident. So
I
such
think it's,
stories, yeah,
yeah.
such stories I had with them. So I said, okay, time to share my stories, these ghostly stories with my readers. And I started penning them down. The first one did so well, Ghosts of the Silent Hills. is a national bestseller now. It
Yes.
did so well that my publishers wanted me to write more.
Yeah.
So I went in and wrote Ghost in the Dark Silence,
Yeah.
which also, of course, then some people also contacted me for that. They
Yeah.
came with their experiences. So
That's what
one,
I noticed once we had this interaction in our
mm,
book club, and I remember there were the people who were attending were sharing their stories. So
they
yes,
said,
this is a subject which is obviously beyond normal,
no,
paranormal,
yes,
but
and
very fascinating.
interests everyone.
And a
Yes.
lot of the things which you have told us are very like guardian angel type of ghosts,
Mm.
protective. I thought that was very interesting.
And vengeful, no, there are vengeful ghosts also.
Also vengeful. Oh my God.
Vengeful,
Both
yes.
extremes are there.
Mm.
Wow. Okay, great. I mean, now that you tell us about ghosts, I hope you will also tell us about how to keep ourselves safe from ghosts. And that is the skill. So let's just move on in your journey. Your journey has been very versatile, and the last four books we've talked about have tackled different subjects. Let's talk a little bit about the latest book now, which you published early this year. Am I right? Early
Yeah,
this.
early, in June. In fact, it came out in June.
Oh, lovely. So
June
June
this year. Yeah.
2025.
Mm.
And so it's your most recent book. And this is something which I called it a magnum opus because of the sheer range of characters, events, incidents. And you really, I think, went big. Was that your plan that I want to write something which has this remarkable landscape?
Most of the things, as a writer, you must be knowing that they come while you're writing. But you always start with a basic idea. And these ideas I had in me because, I had, again, like I told you, I grew up listening to ghost stories. They were a very little, but most of the times, my parents shared, their experiences of partition time, what India had undergone, how much respect they had for their leaders, like that's something they inculcated in me also for our great Mahatma Gandhi, for Jawaharlal Nehru. My father would talk so much about them, plus some experiences that they had undergone, and they touched me very, very deeply. One experience that I shared with many, I've already shared about my father. He had gone to drop my mother to spend some time with her brother. She had gone with two small children, my elder brother and sister. So they were 1 year and 2 years old that time. He dropped them at Amritsar. This was in March 1947. And the way he used to narrate, and he reached Pathankot station. And he used to live in, we belong to, actually, we are very typical Himachali, and we belong to Chamba. So he was going to Chamba and he had reached Pathankot when he met somebody, an acquaintance, who asked him, where he had been traveling. So he said, I'd gone to drop my family at Amritsar. And he says, that fellow's reaction, he's just stared at his face. He says, what have you done? You don't know what's happening in Amritsar. Amritsar, a terrible rioting has broken out. And you go back and bring your family, safely. So my father, he ran to the station again. He went to the ticket counter, asked for a ticket to Amritsar. The last train was leaving for Amritsar. The ticket fellow says, it's about to leave. I think it's not 2 minutes left. So my father said, hurry up, give me that ticket. And, while he was making the ticket, they saw there used to be just one, line. The train left. And when that train reached Amritsar, not, it was filled with blood and bodies.
Yeah, it just gives you
So,
goosebumps, also
yes,
because
so
these are
that's
real things,
real
these are,
things. And on the other hand, my mother would tell her experiences of those days, that how they had to run from where they were to a more safer place. My uncle took them to his friend's house around the Golden Temple area, where there were the six Nihang Sikhs. Actually, Golden Temple itself was under a lot of danger. And the Nihang Sikhs were guarding those streets. So that's where they ran, and how there was curfew and there was nothing to eat. So all these things, I'd grown up listening to. And another see, we always talk of one side, but another story that my father used to share. So, my father, despite all that, he never, my parents, never created any rift of religious differences in us.
Yeah.
And because he also told us, a story of how after once the partition was declared, 1947. I mean, these stories are not in my book, so I'm just sharing with my listeners.
Yeah.
And they were in Chamba and Kashmir. It was that Chamba is, if you take some back route, so it's about only 50 kilometers from Kashmir. So it's adjacent. And there was a chance of that area going to Pakistan. So how they had packed up their luggage, thinking that they would have to leave if this area was declared into Pakistan. And they were listening, sitting next to the radio and listening to the news where the areas were being declared, which had gone to Pakistan and which had gone to India. You can imagine how people all packed up, ready to run away if in case they were not in India anymore.
And
So
I think, Anita, what is so wonderful is that these stories need to be told.
told.
As you talk about 1947 and before and after, I think these are because the partition generations are slowly fading away. It's so important to preserve.
Yeah.
And this book, though it is a piece of fiction, but there's a lot of the real, actual incidents. And that is something which is running through all your books, right? That they
Mm.
may be fiction, but they're always based on true events.
True. No, actually, I've not just finished. I want to finish this, what my father told this
Oh, okay, okay.
after partition, what happened. Now, Chamba, Kashmir was neutral. They hadn't declared where it went, but Chamba was in India. Okay, so they heaved a sigh of relief. But Chamba also had a lot of Muslims. So my father tells that they were asked to leave by what happens in such condition, political events, and how common people suffer. And all the Muslims were asked to leave Chamba. There was one my father used to tell, and he was his friend. He says, "I knew we had studied together in school." And that fellow, he, took a Gita and, wore the typical dhoti kurta and all that. And there's a place called Chugan in Chamba. And he says, "I'm a Hindu and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. This is where I was born and I don't want to leave my birthplace, my roots." But they insisted. And even they were all packed into a bus, and the bus that left Chamba with, I think, some guards, 4 or 5 guards. And between Chamba and Pathankot, there is a place called, very small place called Bathri. And that is where, at Bathri, the bus was stopped and the guards were asked to get out. And each and every person was shot at. So why I'm trying to say is that I want to show the both sides scenes of suffering. So who suffered? The common people, both sides. If we say only Indian side suffered it, that's not true. So
I think
that's
that's again something which is very important to you, be it Tears of Jhelum or be it Beyond a Broken Bridge. That not to allow incidents which have been, they may have come out of religion differences, but not to allow them to separate people. And there's
people.
a lot of unity that you do show in this book, and that's what I want to come to. So when you wrote this book, and this turns out to be such a large, like I said, landscape of people, events, there is love. I mean, primarily it's a love
Primary,
story.
it's a love story.
Yeah, it's a love story, and but it's against the backdrop of so much strife and so much conflict and so much goodness, right? Anita, so I think that part was very clear to you, that that's what your messaging was. Am I
Yeah,
right?
this is what. See, Meenakshi, I feel very bad when I see such events happening. When divisions are created in the society. I want to do just the opposite. I want to bring people together. Because ultimately, we are human beings. So to be human is more important than to be a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian. It's not that important. That's your wish. How you want to live your life, what you want to believe in. That's why it's all democracy is about. To give you freedom. But beyond that, ultimately, we have to be human beings first. And you see how much these political conflicts, and that's one thing, another thing that I tried bringing into my books is that, all these political events, all these decisions taken by the people in power, where the commoners are totally neglected. And ultimately, it is the commoners, the common people, who bear the brunt of all those decisions, whether it was World War II, whether, like my book starts with a Burma walk. And, that Burma walk, one incident, which is, I think so badly suppressed, hardly anybody ever talks about that. But, thousands of people, I think only half of the people who started walking reached India, not even half. And the problems, the starvation, the diseases, the thick jungles that they were passing through, uh, it was a terrible time for them, and so many had perished in that Burma walk. That was also a political event. World War, one side, the World War, when we talk about World War, we think it was Europe, but then it was seeped into Asia. And they were very close to India. Japan was very close to India at that time. And similarly, now you see what is happening in Palestine and
Yeah.
Afghanistan, in Syria, in Ukraine.
Yeah.
How people are getting affected, how people are dying, commoners, how people they have nobody to support or rescue them.
So I think this
They're
brings
left
us
on their own. They're running.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think I want to talk here about, what is really the role of a writer or of an author? I mean, being of service to humanity in a way that there is a kind of lesson. Like, you've been an educator, and you said stories were a part of the education that you were imparting. You continue that journey through now stories that you are writing out there. But I think somewhere it's very important for an author, not only to mirror society, but also to give that kind of hope. And that's something which I find very strongly in the book, that through all the difficulties, that hope is something which you
Yeah.
keep alive. So you are not a pessimist, even though you are troubled by world affairs. I mean, everything is affecting you, but you still keep that optimism.
Yeah, right, Meenakshi. Absolutely. That's what, life is short. So you want, that to do something for the society. You want to add meaning to your own life, and perhaps everyone has a reason why we are here in this world. And if we can do something good to the society, if we can show them a way, and I think pen is, now we say pen, although we write on computers now, but pen is more powerful than a sword. Okay, that's
Yeah,
what I believe in. That if people, and that's why I want my this book particularly, Beyond a Broken Bridge, to reach more and more people, for them to understand that how the break in the societies, they affect the countries, the people, and how important it is not to be misled by the politicians with their own vested interests.
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and
So
yes, there is always a hope,
there's
because see, the world has no dearth of good people. There are more good people, but it's the only thing, like somebody said that it is the world suffers not because of the bad people, but because the good
good people
people
keep
to, yeah, keep quiet.
quiet.
Yeah.
I think that's very powerful what you said.
Mhm.
Speaking up, and there are many ways, writing, making your thoughts somewhere, in a palatable way, because these are not things one can say, but our
Mhm.
stories can. And as an author, you are doing that, and I hope you continue doing that. So, more power to your pen or laptop, as the case may be.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi. And so I wish you all the best. You are an author also.
Yeah,
And your book Soldier On, I read that book and it's beautiful. And the you have paid such beautiful homage to your father.
thank
You know,
you.
something that he couldn't do in his life, you did it for him.
How
That
wonderful
was,
that you
yeah.
have read it. But Anita, I want to say we learn from each other. Every author is a reader first, and
Mm,
you have, of course, like as an English teacher, read, written, and continue your stories. And I think it's very inspiring for us to talk to each other like that, to have this kind of a fireside chat. It's very intimate, and yet we have an opportunity to reach the world. Thank you so much
yeah,
for having me as your moderator, because I've
yeah,
always loved talking to you.
yeah, most welcome, Meenakshi. It's so
Yeah.
wonderful. I think we have some connection. That's what I feel.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. All of us do. And it's wonderful. Thank you so much to everybody who's organized this. And I think over to them to put in their thoughts and carry on the discussion.
Yeah. Yeah,
Manju,
thank
over
you,
to you.
everyone, all the listeners. I hope you enjoyed our chit chat.
Yes, yes, certainly. And Meenakshi, I must say you're a great moderator. You carried on the conversation so effortlessly. It was a pleasure listening to you, both of you. It was like it was orchestrated so well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And I hope
And
you'll
it
join
was
us
nothing was
again.
planned.
Yeah,
Stay on the screen, and I hope you'll join us
Sure.
again at our future sessions also.
sure, sure.
Anita, thank you for this excellent conversation, and I'm sure our listeners would like to have some discussion with you. I would request people who are interested in taking part in the discussion to switch on their videos, come onto the screen, please.
You're welcome, Manju, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's been my honor to come. We met few years
really.
ago in Chandigarh. I
Yes.
remember that.
When your Tears of Jhelum
Salem
came out,
was
yes.
published,
Why
yeah.
don't you show them the cover of the latest book? I loved the cover too. And
Yeah,
yes, those of you who would like to take part in the discussion, please come onto the screen.
simple, yeah. That's what.
Yeah, yeah, this is the cover. And
Can you
just
see
move it
it?
a little because it's shining. Yeah, there's that bridge and there's a couple walking on that bridge. Yeah,
Yeah, there is
beautiful.
the fighter plane of World War II. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's Mitsubishi or
Yeah,
or I
yeah,
think, and yeah,
very
simple,
nice. I
simple
really
cover.
liked it. I really liked it.
Mm,
Minimalist and so effective.
mm.
Great. And while we are waiting for the other people to come onto the screen, I'll make one or two comments. Manpreet, will you come onto the screen? Let's hear you say take part in the discussion. Roshan, Mukesh, are you still there? Mukesh was there, and we had another person. We have another person from Japan. Ui Teramoto is here. So those of you who would like to take part in the discussion, please come onto the screen. Yeah, that'll be very nice. When you were talking about your book, your first book about Fluffy, I was reminded of Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie. Travels with Charlie. That's a travelogue, actually. Huh?
Mm.
And I note that you use a lot of autobiography, you use a lot of personal experiences, and everyone cannot really convert personal experience into public. For they cannot really relate it to a public cause, but you, I think, have done it very well. Anyway, we have Mukesh here. Mukesh, would you like to add something to it, to the discussion?
Yeah,
Mukesh,
not much.
incidentally, is a professor of English and he is a very multi-talented person. He is a writer, poet, photographer, and he wears many hats. Mukesh, yes? Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you very much. It was very wonderful listening to you.
Thank you,
And
thank you.
congratulations on your new book. Uh, be very happy to listen at least a paragraph if you could read
Yes,
from your new book. That would be very nice because
Okay.
that would really be nice. Yeah, yeah. Mm. And the amount of research that has gone into it, it is so graphic.
Do you have any suggestion, Manju or
Oh,
Meenakshi?
no, 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 I'll leave it to you.
Because I had not decided on anything.
Uh-huh.
I'll just read on the page I open. Will
Right.
that be all right?
That'll be
from the
fine.
beginning would be very nice.
Yeah, beginning would be nice.
Beginning would be nice. Okay. So, So it starts with Rangoon, Burma, 23rd December 1941. On that crisp December morning, I wake up to the sun's rays penetrating through my curtainless window, falling straight into my eyes. I leave the bed and open the window, allowing the glorious rising sun to bathe me in its gentle golden light. A few cirrus clouds float in the cerulean sky. A mild southerly breeze brushes flirtatiously against my face, making me feel happy and alive. I inhale deeply and join my hands in reverence to the sun god. It's a daily ritual ingrained in me by since my childhood, by BG, my mother. The serene vista deceptively hides the impending disaster, giving me no clue of the grievous mess my life would shortly be. I turn away from the window and walk towards the bathroom. On the way, I spot the newspaper kept meticulously on the table. The headline of the Rangoon Times screams, "The Japanese army routs the British forces at Burma borders." My heart sinks. I pass by without picking up the newspaper, but my mind goes into hyperactive mode. I think that's enough. Half a page I read. So this is how it begins. It begins with the Burma, the Japanese almost have reached Rangoon, and that's where the protagonist is. He's an engineer who's been working on Burma Road, and that's where the disaster of his life begins. Yes.
Thank you very much.
That is the day when the bombing takes place.
That bombing. That is the day, 23rd December, the Rangoon bombing had taken place. And then after that, it continued almost every day, every day.
It's a very moving book. Dr. Prasad, would you like to say something? Anil Prasad? Unmute, please.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the moderator and the author, and both the authors, for this kind of wonderful, lively interaction.
Thank you.
The fact is that I have not read any of the novels, and I could not get time to get the books. I have read books on partition, the other books, and I think that the partition books rely on historical memory and actual incidents. I would like to know that how far the historical memory and the incidents described in the novels promote healing and reconciliation.
I think, the healing, the generation, I'd like to remind you, that underwent all these, the partition trauma and the struggle for independence is mostly no more with us. That generation is almost gone. And we are the next generation who have heard stories firsthand from them. And it's not about, healing now as much as reminding people what is the repercussion of conflicts. Nobody is happy. I mean, people suffer so much, and somewhere we have to stop that, from history from being repeated. We have to learn from the past events. And that's what most, I think, these books are about.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The point made by Meenakshi, which you discussed with her, was that literature can actually bring us together. It can bring people together. So stories of experiences that we've all had, there is a commonality, there is a sameness in them. And once we recognize that, then barriers will automatically drop. At least that is what I think. And maybe we are all dreamers, but it's good to be a dreamer. Huh? And we are not the only one. As you know, John Lennon says in his song, Imagine.
Yeah. So
Very
that's, Meenakshi, sorry.
We have Roshan. Roshan, please keep it short.
I'll keep it very short.
Okay.
I'm more interested, Anita, in knowing about your creative process, particularly that the act of writing, how do you do it and how do you engage with that on day-to-day basis, Why I
Yeah.
ask that is simple.
Mm.
All of us, aspire to do stuff our way. Some of us are disciplined, some of us are very disciplined, and some of them are completely indisciplined too. So there are categories of those who aspire to write. And what exactly do you do? How do you operate?
So when you said that being disciplined or some being totally indisciplined, I think we have both of them. At times we are very disciplined, and at times discipline goes haywire. So yes, writing. For writing, it has to come from the heart, and it is most of something that inspires you. And if you get that topic particularly to write, and you have to actually, a writer needs just a spark to start an inferno.
Mhm.
So from that spark, it is just a building and making a series and making it flow. Like some most of the time, I imagine myself in the story. How would I react? How would I behave if I were in such a circumstances? So that is how I keep weaving around that
Yes.
basic idea that I start with. It's always a small idea which
Yeah.
becomes larger and larger then.
One thing more, little one for that matter. One is like, building characters, and another is, say, dealing with, I'm reminded of Naipaul,
Mm,
who assigns himself that task of just describing what he observes through the window. And he
mm,
does it once and he's not satisfied, does it for the second time, third, fourth. And it takes a long time, to be able to say that, yes, now it is as I see it outside and as it is now, and that veil of, what's that? Something that you see and something that you represent or you write, that kind of disappears. Do you have something to say? Like, how do you deal with nature if at all it comes your
yeah.
way?
You actually, of course, when the ideas come and you yourself reject so much when you're writing, the
Okay.
rejection comes from yourself that this is not something, this is not what I feel. This is something, it's not me that I'm writing.
Okay.
So you have to, I keep removing and I keep adding. And yes, what you said, as an observer, writer
Yeah.
is always first an observer. You observe people, you have observed life, in fact.
Yes.
You know?
What comes to us through you is always a perception,
Mm,
and that perception suddenly feels, authentic.
exactly.
Authentic in the sense that that perception becomes your perception so totally that what you kind of, what you
And it's
read.
also to do with your perception. It's to do with the striking an idea that strikes you. For example, I'll just tell you, when I wrote Tears of Jhelum, I had an idea what I wanted to write, what would be the core of my story.
Oh.
I wasn't getting how to start. And one evening I was just walking in the park, and it just struck me, and the name struck me. I don't know how it came, the name Wali Muhammad Khan.
Okay.
I had no idea. I don't know anybody Wali called Wali.
Okay. Okay.
And Wali Muhammad Khan is sitting in a shikara on the Dal Lake. I
Mm-hmm.
left my walk halfway through, came back and started the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that becomes the moment, that
yeah, at the
trigger.
moment it became,
Right.
yes.
Okay. Okay. The trigger
Yeah,
moment. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
yeah,
I
you're
think
most
what is
welcome.
important, is that you take out time and space for
Yes.
writing, huh?
Right now I'm
And you
Manju, I have
can't do it.
time. I'm retired
Yeah,
person. I'm
you
just
can't do it if you're sitting in your office till 9 o'clock at night, huh?
no, no, no,
Then you don't,
yes.
You
then you
got it.
don't see the beauties of Mount Carol, and you cannot write any poems about the swishing pines and the
Mm,
whispering
Yeah,
trees, can
yeah.
you? Yeah,
I got the message, ma'am. Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Roshan is a poet, and he has not published anything lately because even now he's sitting in his office.
No. Yeah,
True.
you need to have time. But I did publish when I was working as a teacher. I did publish my first Running Up the Hill and then
Okay.
Tears of Chelem. After I had published Tears of Chelem, I took little early retirement.
Okay.
One was for major for writing. Another, to the family, I gave the excuse that my daughter was going to have her first baby. That was the excuse I gave because my husband said, "Why do you want to leave? Why do you want to take early retirement?" So I said, "No, I'll spend at least 3 months with my daughter, looking after the baby, helping her, and the school will not give me that much leave, so I'm leaving."
Okay.
But behind the idea was that I wanted to devote my whole time into writing then.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Dr. Prasad, would you like to say something?
In fact, I have not read any of the novels.
But you must read. Them because these are books that are.
I will read because they are very interesting. They
Yes, they
sound
are. Really are. Huh?
Tears of Jhelum about terrorism
And she writes without any bitterness, without any goal, not being judgmental. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Meenakshi, would you like to add something? Meenakshi?
Yeah, I just wanted to say because someone brought up healing through writing. And I just want to say something. There's a book by Anshul Malhotra called Remnants of a Separation, which is
I've read.
on all the articles of the partition. And because partition
yes.
is the theme of her latest book, and I just want to say that I also belong to Punjab, Amritsar. So I just want to say that people who left behind small objects, those became the stories. And so this lady has put it all together. And when she was speaking at one of the events, she said something which I thought was very true for today's conversation, where she said that the trauma that this generation went through, they may not be alive, but they have passed on the trauma to the generations after them. It's like what they have faced. We are so stories are in fact the only way that we can release not only ourselves but them. And I thought that that question of healing, certainly it's healing to read it also in many ways, to relive pain, yes, but pain followed by hope. So thank you, Anita, for doing that, because that triggered that thought in me.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
This is what a writer wants. To what you are all saying gives you incentive to go on. Sometimes because you are now I'm stuck with my next topic, next book. So I'm in the middle of a turbulent river,
But
finding my path.
it'll
Yeah.
come.
It'll
It'll
come.
So thank you, Manju. You asked me, and this was the thought on my mind about how healing does indeed happen, not only for the author, but for the reader as well.
Yeah. And do let me have your email ID. We'll put you on the mailing list so that you can join us whenever you feel like. Huh?
I would love to.
So if there are no more questions, if there are no other comments or observations, we'll bring the session to a close. Anybody who'd like to say anything at this moment, this is your chance.
Yeah, I thank Ma'am Anita and thank you, Ma'am. And I am going to order your, now
that'll be
writings.
wonderful.
Not just,
I have
not
one
just,
small
not
question.
just for myself, but for the library. Yes, Mukesh bhai, please go on.
I just want to know whether after you write, do you have readers who critically comment
Oh,
on your
yes,
work?
absolutely. If you go to Amazon and see that, there are a lot of comments on the positive, negative, everything. So you have to
I
take.
don't mean that. I don't mean that.
Before
I mean,
publication,
before
huh?
that's right.
Before publication, it's only actually I don't have many people with me, so it's only the comments and all that comes from my editors. The team. They have the team of
Yeah.
editors. So
But I'm sure you must be sharing some excerpts because at least that's what I do. Sometimes I write something and I, pass it around and people laugh or they tell me, this is too much. Yeah. So excerpts
I
you must
used
be
to
sharing.
do that. See, I used to, my family, my daughter-in-law, son, they used to read. But lately, for this book, Beyond a Broken Bridge, they have become so busy in life that nobody has.
I know it's like that. They have no time.
Nobody read it.
Yeah. Right.
So when it's published, I'm after them. Come on, read my book at least. So I've come
No,
to that.
we are going to read your books. We are going to order them, and thank you very much for
Yeah,
being
that'd
here.
be so
Yeah, you
nice.
should.
So nice of you.
And Madam Meenakshi, thank you very. It was wonderful to listen to you
So,
both. Love a remarkable
yeah, thank you very
synchronization.
much.
We enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you.
So thank you once again, Anita, Meenakshi.
You're most welcome.
Mukesh, thank you for joining us, Dr. Prasad, and all the people who are logged in, who are not on the screen. And I must tell you that our next session is going to be equally interesting, if not more, and we'll be discussing Mrs. Dalloway. So it's going to be a panel discussion on Mrs. Dalloway, and the date not yet announced, but it's going to be on the 3rd of December. So the same forum on the 3rd of December, because Harish Trivedi is joining us incidentally. He's going to be a key speaker, and plus we have a panel of some other people, and Dr. Prasad has also offered to speak up. And Mukesh, if you'd like to join in, if you'd like to take part in the panel, that would be very nice. Right.
I have given up.
Huh?
Why have given up academics.
This is not academics. This is having fun.
I think a better thing could be that Mukesh, in fact, is engaged in a conversation because he writes brilliant poetry.
That's
This
a,
should be done.
I have stopped
Something.
everything.
Okay,
why?
we'll get you going, Mukesh. Why don't worry. We know how to do that. We know how to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and
Okay.
we meet again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Not 2 weeks from now, but 3 weeks from now, because in between we have the Dibrugarh conference coming up.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye,
Thank you all. Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks once
Bye.
again. Bye. Bye.
Bye.